Started with a sort of mysterious notice this afternoon, a reference to security concerns that went out to all employees at the U.S. Department of Education. Quote, beginning today at 6 p.m., all Education Department offices will be closed for security reasons. Employees must vacate the building by that time. This notice also said all Education Department offices would be closed tomorrow and no employees would be allowed in. Now, this notice had no details about what these security reasons were, but it was pretty clear what was coming. After all, we've been through this a couple of times already now. It was just over a month ago when people who work at USAID got an email saying their office would be closed the next day and they shouldn't come to work. That was right before Trump set about completely dismantling that whole agency. Employees at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, same thing, sent a very similar note saying their office would be shut for the following week, just as the White House ordered the entire agency to stop all of its work. And sure enough, tonight, just after the 6 p.m. deadline for Education Department workers to vacate their offices because of some security concern, Trump Education Secretary, the billionaire pro wrestling executive Linda McMahon, announced that her department is cutting its workforce in half. They will begin firing more than 1,300 people from the Education Department tonight. And then, of course, she went straight to Fox News.
That was the president's mandate, his directive to me, clearly is to shut down the Department of Education, which we know we'll have to work with Congress, to get that accomplished. But what we did today was to take the first step of eliminating what I think is bureaucratic bloat. And that's not to say that a lot of the folks, it's a humanitarian thing, too. A lot of the folks that are there, they're out of a job. But we wanted to make sure that we kept all of the right people and the good people.
If you find yourself starting to feel a little tug on your heartstrings for those 1,300 people who are out of a job tonight at the Education Department, don't worry. We kept all the good people. We kept all the good people. The 1,300 people who are getting fired tonight, they just aren't, they're not good. They're not good. Who is this for? The vast majority of the American people do not want this. A poll earlier this month, Reuters Ipsos, earlier this month found that fully 66% of Americans oppose abolishing the Education Department. Nearly half of Americans strongly oppose it, while only 16% are strongly in favor of it. This is not something Americans want, but Donald Trump is trying to do it anyway, apparently starting with firing fully half the people who work at that agency tonight. This is from NPR on the Trump administration's announcement tonight that they're firing 1,300 people from the U.S. Department of Education. Quote, AFGE, American Federation of Government Employees, Local 252, a union that represents Education Department employees, released a statement in which its president, Sharia Smith, said, we will fight these draconian cuts. Minutes later, AFGE Local 252 told NPR that Sharia Smith was laid off, along with all 5 of the chapter's other union officers. Joining us now is Sharia Smith. She's president of the union representing 2,800 employees at the Education Department. She served our country as an attorney for the Education Department's Office for Civil Rights until this evening. Ms. Smith, thank you so much for being here on Tonight of All Nights. I am sorry for what you're going through.
Thank you so much, Rachel. My coworkers and I from all over the country really appreciate the platform you're giving us to talk about this.
Is it the case that your whole office is being closed and your colleagues, all of your colleagues at your office are being fired as well, the whole thing?
That's so interesting that you asked the question about our whole office. So we've reviewed the list of people who are set to be laid off. And I also listened to Secretary McMahon's statement about how they're keeping the good people. The people that they seem to be keeping are white men who happen to have graduated from very conservative schools. Not to say that they're not good. I think all of my coworkers are excellent. Many of them are members. But the coworkers that are being laid off as well are also good. What is curious in the U.S. Department of Education is that the layoffs, the mass terminations, the administrative leaves are seeming to affect and impact disproportionately women and people of color. And the Department of Education should be a model employer. And I want American people to think about, do they want their employer to follow this model where the only people that are deemed good enough to keep their jobs and their ability to support their families are people who are from a certain race and are of a certain gender.
I know that this has all just happened in the last few hours, but with what they've been telegraphing about their plans for the Education Department, I know that you and your union colleagues and your colleagues at work more broadly have to have been expecting the worst. Do you believe that your union or that the employees more broadly have recourse to fight these firings and have recourse to fight their efforts to abolish the department?
Well, absolutely, because their efforts are illegal. Again, since the new administration came into office, we have experienced mass terminations and unchecked unprofessionalism, and people just not going by the rules. Even this layoff is not something that should have occurred. The layoff was not because of a budget shortfall. The president can't just lay people off because he does not agree with them or he does not like the color of their skin or their gender. So certainly we are availing ourselves for, of all recourse to challenge this and talking with attorneys, and we have been since the first round of layoffs on January 21st. And so, we'll be fighting, and we hope the American people will fight with us.
Linda McMahon, in explaining what she's doing here, has also said that the American people should expect that there will be no interruption to any of the programs that the Education Department administers. I have to ask you if that is possible with what they're planning tonight, with half the workforce gone overnight.
Absolutely not possible. Since January 21st, our entire agency has been interrupted. We've been told not to work. We've had people who have been forced from working, even though they've been high performers. There's no way, we were already understaffed. There is no way we can continue operations at the levels that we had been when you have half the workforce and you have fired great people. You have fired high performers. There's no way. If you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
Sharia Smith is the president of the AFGE union that represents Education Department employees. She's an attorney for the Education Department's Office for Civil Rights. She was fired this evening, but as she says, she believes that she and her colleagues have absolute recourse to fight back against these firings as illegal. Ms. Smith, again, I am sorry for what you and your colleagues are going through tonight. Thank you for taking the time to talk us through it, and please stay in touch with us as this proceeds. I know this won't be the last we'll be hearing from you.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right. Good luck to you.